Defeating ISIS, one of the talking points, major talking points of this election, and both of our candidates have very distinct plans of how they're going to deal with this. Oh, wait a minute. One of our candidates refuses to let us know what his plan is until he is elected. It's like the little gift in the Cracker Jack box. That's what Donald Trump has given us to defeat ISIS. ISIS is an issue that we're all talking about worldwide. I visited Israel earlier this year, and I went to the Syrian border. I went to the Gaza Strip border. I went to the Lebanese border. The one thing that we learned was that there's probably about 30,000 members of ISIS at most. One of the things I asked one of the guys that was a top security guy in Israel is, why don't you guys just go in there and handle it? And he said to me, because they hide in schools. They hide in communities with the civilians. They're not in a remote camp where they're there by themselves. They're hiding. And so it's really hard to go in there because we don't want to kill children.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're so right, because I remember when I was a part of the invasion in Iraq in 2003, and in our patrols, we would go to these different towns and just trying to clear the towns out and just trying to find out who's where, who's what, what they're up to. And we went into a lot of schools, and to my young 19-year-old surprise, I was like, these schools were not filled with children as we're accustomed to seeing in the United States of America, or in most of the world. They were filled with weapons. They were filled with, all of these things that ultimately were, to be used to attack us. And the one thing that was really difficult about the conflicts like in Iraq and Afghanistan is you don't know who the enemy is. You don't know where the enemy, it's not like they come out and they're all wearing uniforms and they're like, this is who we are. It's not the wild, wild west where we line up, and we just go at each other. That's not how it is. War is a completely different thing now. When you look at a lot of the injuries that are taking place, there, a lot of them that the individual is not there present. It's a bomb that's placed. It's an IED that's placed. It's a sniper that's shooting from a few hundred yards away. There's so many different, kind of, war is so different now. And
absolutely.
So, but
what you're showing is how complicated it is.
Absolutely. And I don't think that you can just say, as Trump has said, you can't just bomb the hell out of their families, and
Right.
that's not a solution, because what you're ultimately going to create is more hatred
And more
Because
ISIS.
More ISIS. There's going to be more individuals that are going to be more, more hatred come towards the United States, and that's not the solution
that's
to
why
anything.
This issue is one of the ones that's the most stark contrast. You have Hillary Clinton that has a 3-point strategy, everything from working with the tech community, which I think is a really important part, especially with ISIS and the way they recruit, to try to circumvent these channels and to try to change these propaganda machines. Because it isn't that many people, but they've been able to penetrate so much further than everyone else because of this. But the point is, beyond all this that we could talk about forever and probably bore everybody, but beyond that, it's the fact that she's looking at this thoughtfully and actually trying to come up with a plan. And Trump is saying not only that he's not going to share his plan, but he's saying that, contradicting himself, we talked about the same day, saying, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a group of generals come back with a plan, I'm going to give them 30 days to come up with a plan and come back. As if it's just that, well, gee, why didn't we think of that before?
And this is after he already said, I know more than the generals.
Yeah,
so you're
absolutely.
now saying these individuals that have committed their life to service, to finding out what the enemy is and who the enemy is and learning everything about them. Now you're saying they don't know anything, but now you're going to find the generals that do know everything in 30 days to come up with a plan. Well, if it was that easy, ISIS wouldn't even be in existence right now, would it?
And speaking of that, let's just be real. Let's roll our sleeves up and let's talk about the real. How did ISIS get here in the first place? Where did ISIS come from? Why is there an ISIS problem now? Do you think that this continuous dialogue, this continuous narrative that Donald Trump is spewing against Muslims and Middle Eastern people is not feeding the animal of ISIS and creating far more ISIS? That's what started ISIS in the first place. These young people watch. Yeah, it's just, but we have amnesia. I'm not pro-ISIS, but let's be real about where ISIS came from. How did ISIS begin in the first place? Where did this hatred for America come from, these young Middle Eastern people? Where did it come from? It came from when we went over there, and what did we do? And now what is happening is a result of what we did. And we keep ignoring that. How you remedy a problem is you have to study where it came from. And we keep ignoring that.
Well, it came from like the leader of ISIS was a part of Al Qaeda. He thought Al Qaeda wasn't radical enough, and so he broke off, and to the point where like it's almost like Al Qaeda now is like in a corner like, oh my God, like ISIS, like who wouldn't even do half of the things that they have already done, because there's so the leader that branched off and created ISIS is so much more radical and so much more extreme.
But
maybe that's why Trump has special insight into all of this.
Yeah, but it's true. Like, I mean, listen, I don't think to try to defeat something, you ultimately attack them so much. It's not and spew hatred towards a group of people, because, he talked about not allowing any more Muslims to come into this country. He talked about, eliminating them, for all of them go back to their own countries. Well, those people that are in support of the United States, now if you start to kind of what's the word that I'm looking for, but you start to kind of judge them, and put them in the same category as ISIS, now you're going to create them and to turn on us as well. Yep. And there's a lot of, I tell you what, like being in the military, and any service member will tell you this, being boots on the ground, who you work with a lot of Muslims, and there's a lot of Muslims that actually like are in favor, are in support of the United States, that are appreciative of what we're there to do. That in the grand scheme of things, like understand, like we're trying to do good.
Who are anti-ISIS.
And who are anti-ISIS, anti-Al-Qaeda, and are trying to support us. And they work very closely with our service members, with our intelligence, to give us this information so we can ultimately defeat whatever the threat is at the time.
But now they're being otherized. And that's when you get into the dangerous territory, because when you take a group of people and you make them the other, and you treat them a certain way like that, that's what psychologically starts making you feel like, well, no, these aren't people that are like me, and I'm being attacked. And everyone has a group mentality. Everyone wants to find where they belong. And if we're going to turn our backs on a whole group of people who are here and who want to be American,
they'll eventually turn their backs on us.
Exactly.
And it's like, are we supposed to just be content with a candidate telling us that he'll tell us his plan later?
No.
It's like the whole health thing, like with Hillary Clinton in her health. It's like they needed to release her health records, and that's something that's important for us voters to understand, because we don't want to elect someone that maybe has health issues and then knowing that potentially 6 months or a year from now.
Stop it. Hillary's a woman. Women outlive men. They're all 100 years old, so let Hillary live, okay?
No, I'm just saying, like, if you're
Donald Trump looks sick.
I'm just saying, like, if you're going to say that that's important for voters to understand, it's also important for voters to understand what your real plan is for this very huge threat to the United States and to the world. You can't just we can't just be content with like, okay, we'll find out, in sometime in December or January.
But let's not act like this
article.
is foreign thinking. Let's not act like ISIS is something that's like all unique. ISIS is the KKK. ISIS is the Bloods and the Crips. It's the same mentality of the people that join groups like ISIS are the ones that join those radical groups of people that feel disenfranchised and feel left behind, that are alone. And those predators that run these organizations prey on these people and say, hey, we know you're hurting. We know they don't like you. We got something for you. We'll help you with that pain. Because we treat ISIS like it's something, oh my God, ISIS. The same thinking of ISIS is the same thinking of the KKK, who think they believe they're doing Jesus's work. It's the same kind of thinking. And we keep acting like it's something out of this world that we've never seen before. It just has a brown face, guys. It's the same thing.